Welcome to Midnight Shadows, where darkness conceals the most chilling tales. Today, we are about to step into a mysterious realm where games with spirits are not just mere folklore. Beware, these games can lead you down a treacherous path, opening the door to dark entities that lurk beyond our understanding. Throughout history, the bravery of the samurai has been celebrated as a symbol of resilience. But when faced with existential fears, even a moment of weakness can spell disaster. Today's story transports us back to 1660, when a group of young samurai engaged in a terrifying game involving storytelling and a sinister mirror. One by one, they shared their most horrifying tales, extinguishing candles until darkness enveloped them, leading to hallucinations and the whispers of restless spirits. Prepare yourself, for you won't just hear stories, you may feel a presence lurking beside you. Remember, once you open this door, it is not so easily closed. The stories you are about to hear are intended for entertainment purposes only. Please do not try these games at home. Not only do you run the risk of very real-world accidents, but you could unwittingly open the door to something far more insidious: bravery, honor, and loyalty. These were the most important attributes that a samurai must possess. A role that would see them literally fall on their own swords if they failed was not any place for the mentally weak. Not knowing what could come their way at any time, it was important for the samurai to not just be brave in the face of their enemies, but to also be in control of their own existential fears, and even be stoic in the face of threats from other places, darker places. Places that don't always seem to be present in our world, but are there, just beyond the shadows, just beyond the veil of our reality. It was in 1660 that the first recorded incident of this game being played took place. A group of young samurai gathered late one night with the intention of facing their ultimate fears. The group placed a mirror on a table before surrounding it with candles, slowly taking turns to light 100 candles. They then retreated to another room and sat in a circle. It would take the bravest of them all to start the ritual. The first man stood up and began to tell a story, a terrifying story of the demons that live in the darkness. The group hung on his every word as he spoke in this darkened room. When he had finished the story, the man went to the room where the candles were lit, looked deep into the mirror, and blew out one candle. He remained there in silence for several minutes before rejoining the group. This practice continued long into the night. Each man would take turns to tell stories of the strange and the unsettling, the intention being to strike fear in the minds of their companions. One by one, after each story, the teller would head into the candlelit room, look into the mirror, and blow out a candle. Hours passed. You could only imagine what was racing through the minds of the young samurai at this point, their imaginations ablaze with tales of the impossible. And with each tale that passed into their ears, the candlelit room would get darker and darker. Over the years, many who have played this game claim to have experienced hallucinations throughout, growing more and more vivid as the room grows darker. But it is the final storyteller who really seems to be at the most risk. After the 100th story was told, the last samurai walked into the room. The mirror, now lit by a single candle flickering in the pre-dawn breeze, made it hard not to imagine he would have hesitated before blowing out that candle and being plunged into complete darkness. What happens after this final step of the game is unknown. Very few have completed the process, and the ones that have normally don't like to talk about it. Blowing out that final candle is a step into the unknown, a place where the darkness is all-encompassing, and the things that live in that darkness have free reign. We call these games, but really, they can be seen as rituals. Throughout history, ritual magic has been used by those on the fringes of society to supposedly achieve their heart's desires or to peek behind the apparent illusion that is our reality. These rituals are not just artifacts of history, though, they have grown and evolved over time. Many make use of modern advancements in technology, and with the prevalence of the internet, tales of these ritualistic games have spread faster and faster. This game is one you must play on your own, not that you should. And let me be very clear about this: play any of these games at all. You will need a building with an elevator and at least 10 floors. The order in which you perform the actions is very important. One slight discrepancy will either make the ritual fail or, worse, create an undesired outcome. The player enters the elevator on the ground floor. The sequence you visit the floors is very important, do not forget it. First, push the button and go to the 4th floor. When the elevator arrives there, do not get off. It's very important you stay in the elevator until the first part turn. And attempt this ritual again within this building. However, if the lift strangely starts heading up to the 10th floor, the game is working. The player is now being taken somewhere else, somewhere few have ever seen. When the doors open at the 10th floor, look out the door and make sure the coast is clear. If everything seems quiet, then you can get out and explore. If the woman from the 5th floor is still there, she may ask where you are going. Do not answer her, just leave the elevator. The 10th floor may appear normal to begin with, but small details about it will not be right. Most, or all, of the lights will be out. It's important that the player keeps track of where they are going. Time and space seem to move differently on this floor, small details about the layout may change, but if you can recall the directions back to the elevator, you should be able to find it again. It is very important that the player finds the same elevator they arrived in when it's time to leave. This strange reality that the player has entered isn't just confined to the 10th floor. If you approach one of the windows, you will look out onto a pitch-black world, the only light produced by distant strikes of lightning. But it is enough to illuminate what many people have claimed to see in this world. There, in the darkness, stands a giant red cross. The player should feel free to explore further, but just remember where you are and try not to get lost. One wrong turn could take you hours out of your way. When you're ready to return to your world, find the elevator and return to all the floors in the same sequence you did before. Age 16, the woman will likely be in the elevator with you still. Again, do not look at her, do not talk to her. Finally, push the button for the ground floor to return. If the elevator tries to return to the 10th floor again at this point, then it's important the player interrupts this by selecting another floor on the way up. Do not let it return to the 10th floor. If this happens, repeat the sequence as many times as needed to return to the ground floor. Once the doors open on the ground floor, it's important that the player takes a minute to look at their surroundings before leaving. Make sure there is nothing out of place. If everything looks normal, then you can leave the elevator. Again, even if you hear the doors shut behind you, do not look back. She could still be waiting for you there. Leave the building as quickly as you can. Now is the time to congratulate yourself, you have survived the elevator game. I would not recommend you take that gamble again. Many ritual games are just designed to let us take a peek into another world, but some can help us in this existence. These games are said to provide us with the things we most desire. But that will always come at a cost. And in this next example, that cost is a simple journey, a journey that I do not recommend you ever take. The risk is certainly not worth the reward, despite what might be promised. It's time to think of a wish. This can't just be any old wish. This needs to be your ultimate wish. Look deep inside yourself and think, what do you truly desire in life? It needs to be something you are committed to because the journey in front of you is not going to be a pleasant one. It's important you keep this wish at the forefront of your mind throughout this journey. It needs to be your sole focus. Wait until nightfall. Get a vehicle. I suggest using a car if you can, but nothing too conspicuous. Other vehicles will work, but something like a motorbike will leave you more exposed. Make sure you wrap up very warm, regardless of the weather. First, you need to start driving and find the road. This might sound vague, but you will know it when you see it. It'll be a road you've never seen before, a road with no one else on it, a road that you should have passed many times throughout your life but somehow never noticed. You'll notice some irregularities when you find the road or an unexpected spike in your emotions. This road will be surrounded on both sides by deep tree lines. Once you find the road, close all windows, turn off your radio, and start to drive down it. Whatever you do, do not stop. Your journey is about to begin. This first mile is your last chance. Any lingering doubts you may have about this ritual, now is your chance to stop it. Once you pass the first mile of your journey, there is no going back until the ritual is complete. On the second mile, you will start to notice the cold. Regardless of the weather, this cold will cut through you like a knife, getting worse with each passing mile. The road ahead will be bumpy, with increasingly tight turns the further you go. Be very careful. If your vehicle becomes damaged by the poor road and can't go any further, there is no going back. You will slowly freeze to death in your car. 3 miles in now, and you will start to see them, silhouettes of people in the trees, just in the peripheral of your vision. Do not look at them. Do not acknowledge them. If the fear is starting to creep in, it's too late to do anything about it now. Turning round won't do you any good. You won't find a way out of here until it's over. On mile 4, you may begin to hear the figures in the woods. At this point, their voices will be distant, you aren't hearing them with your ears. It's like a bunch of whispers in the back of your mind. Do whatever you can to distract yourself from these whispers. Paying attention to them will just encourage them to come closer. 5th mile, the voices will leave you for a moment as you enter a clearing with a seemingly endless lake and a blinding bright full moon. Do not look at the moon, it's a trap. Stay focused on the road and keep driving. The 6th mile will bring you darkness. The road disappears back into the trees that are now growing so thick they block out all light from the stars above. Your headlights may start to dim here. Pray that they stay working for the duration of your journey. Those voices I mentioned earlier, they aren't done with you. Without warning, your radio will switch on at full volume, emitting a horrific screeching sound. They are trying to scare you so you have an accident. Stay focused. After the sound, you will start to hear a voice on the radio. It'll tease you, mock you, play on your deepest and darkest fears. Again, do not focus on it. The more attention you give the voice, the stronger it becomes. Focus on the road. You won't be able to turn the radio off. This is your challenge, and at this point, you have no choice but to conquer it. The 7th mile will see the return of the figures in the trees, only this time, they are much clearer. These are said to be the people who have taken the journey and failed, left to haunt the road for all eternity and drag others into their personal hell. You may hear their voices a lot closer now. You'll hear screams and yells coming from them. It may even sound like one is coming from the back seat. Whatever you do, do not turn around. Watch the road. Looking at one of the beings directly will be the end of you. Mile 8, the figures will become more persistent. You will hear them yelling, clawing at the car, climbing on top. As long as you don't stop, they can't get to you, and the road is very dangerous from this point on, so whatever you do, don't look away from the road. The cold will be almost unbearable at this point, but there's nothing you can do about it. Just keep driving. At some unexpected point on mile 9, your vehicle will stall. The beings from the woods will be surrounding you now, screaming in your mind, torturing you with their voices. There will be hundreds. The sounds will make it almost impossible to think your skin is peeling off your bones. It's not. Keep your eyes closed and hope that it'll end soon. You only have 31 seconds of this torment to get through, but most do not manage it. Just as quickly as it started, you will feel everything vanish. The cold will return, the power of your vehicle will be back on. Open your eyes, you will be back on the road. Drive for a few more seconds, and you will reach a dead end. Stop the car and sit there. Think carefully in your mind about your wish again. Picture it as vividly as you can, then slowly open your eyes. You will find yourself back at the start of the road. Now, some say that if your wish was a physical item, you get out and look in the back of your car, and it will be there waiting for you. But, even now, I would not recommend leaving that vehicle. Instead, drive away and look when you get home. If the wish was something bigger, then it will come to you in time. If you do survive the 11-mile drive, you will be left with a memento beyond just the thing you desired. Those who have made the full trip say that late at night, when they lay there struggling to sleep, they will hear the sounds from mile 10, those screams of grief and pain. The sounds that will never leave you, the sounds that you might hear again in person one day. Our final game tonight also has the potential to provide you with a great reward. However, to do so, you will be playing a game with an entity who doesn't lose often. For this game, you will need a large backyard or ideally a house with a large field. The times that you begin this game have an important outcome on what you will possibly gain, but you can start anytime between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. You will need a crucifix, a candle, a lighter or matches, and an analog watch. You do not want to be relying on anything electrical here. Make sure you are alone in the house and light your candle. Keep the matches on you at all times. Head to the backyard and make sure you are facing the house. Then, you will whisper 7 times, "Who will keep the crows away?" On the final repetition, listen carefully. If you hear nothing, he does not want to play with you. Accept this decision and leave the house until morning to be safe. But, if he does want to play, you might hear a voice. Some say they hear it whispered in their ear, other than them. So, what do you gain from playing this dangerous game with the man in the fields? Well, that depends on what time you started. If you began at 9 p.m., you will be physically safe for 1 year. You will not become seriously ill or be injured. You will remain healthy for the full calendar year. If you started at 10 p.m., you will remain healthy but also receive financial abundance for the entire year. If you started at 11 p.m., you are safe in all aspects of your life. No negativity can affect you for the entire year. But after 1 year, these effects will start to diminish, and the bad luck that you have avoided can start to return to you tenfold. How are you going to stop that from happening? Well, I guess you are just going to have to spend another night with the man in the fields, won't you? I just want to credit the podcast Morbid for their spooky games that will ruin your life episodes. In the most recent one, they suggest the book Dangerous Games to Play in the Dark by Lucia Peters, as well as her website, The Ghost in My Machine, which were fantastic resources for this episode of the Tape Library. I'll leave a link to their podcast as well as to the book. If you are at all interested in creepypastas, rituals, and sleepover games, it's the perfect little book to have. And that wraps up our chilling tales about games and rituals that can lead to severe psychological and physical consequences. We hope that after hearing these stories, you will think twice before participating in any similar activities. Safety should always come first, and nothing is more valuable than our mental and physical well-being. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to Midnight Shadows so you won't miss out on more thrilling and captivating ghost stories in the future. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.